And then we're going to be moving on to Kathryn.
Hi, yep. So I'm not as prepared as James is. I was not expecting to have a presentation. So I'm afraid it's just going to be me talking at you, if that's all right with everyone. So I'm Kathryn Towell. I'm currently in my 4th year of my apprenticeship. The apprenticeship as a whole changed slightly from when James did it. So we didn't have to do any of the NVQ stuff out on the hangar floor. We were doing a degree apprenticeship. So we did our time in the workshop, and that was a blast. And I remember looking at the challenges at the end, the tasks at the end, and it was like, oh, I'm never in a million years going to be able to do that. And looking at the drawings and stuff for the simplest tasks at the beginning, like, this means nothing to me. And yet here we are now, 4th year, and it's like, oh, I'm so close. But no, it's been a really good journey. I sort of had a similar route into Marshall to James. There was no drunk man in the pub for me though. So I just happened to cross Marshall one day in a newspaper article, and I was like, oh, that's where I want to go. And I applied, and here I am all these years later. So I joined in 2017, and I can't believe it's already the 4th year. But it's been an absolute blast, and I've done so many things. I've helped out with Launchpad. We were, I want to say conned, but we weren't quite conned into Launchpad in our 1st year as well. And I've enjoyed doing that. I was there with the little twerpy robots, putting out the fires, and 101 other things. I've done outreach events where I've gone to various schools. I've gone out with Liz and what have you, various places. And about a year ago, I joined a network called YAAN, which is the Young Apprentice Ambassador Network. So it's kind of like Launchpad in regards to the fact that it's trying to get other people interested in apprenticeships, but it's apprenticeships as a whole. It's not just necessarily STEM events. So there's people all over the country, country split into regions, and we're all there, and we basically just try and get young kids interested in apprenticeships, sort of spread the awareness. Because I remember when I was at school, there was nothing about apprenticeships. I think 2 of us in my entire year ended up doing an apprenticeship, and I ended up going to the careers person at my school going, I want to do an apprenticeship, where all the teachers were like, oh, but uni. And it's like, but I can do all the same things. Like, I don't think people appreciate how good apprenticeships are, especially the one at Marshall. I've thoroughly enjoyed my one so far. Yeah, so it's a really good network for apprentices meeting each other, helping go out to schools and various events, and just trying to get people involved really. And we do socials as well. So last night we had a quiz for people all over the country, all the ambassadors. And there was about 30 of us, I think, in the end. And our host had one too many, I think, for the end of it. And he ended up losing control of all of us. So it was very much a good giggle. And I'd recommend it, even just to have a look. So it's for apprentices and ex-apprentices. So I think there's an age limit. But there's all sorts, and they've been heavily involved this week with it being Apprenticeship Week. My phone has been absolutely blowing up with all sorts of National Apprenticeship Week stuff from everyone retweeting everything. So it's definitely been a good week and a good time to join. Unfortunately, I've not been able to get involved as much as I wanted to, because I joined about 3 weeks before lockdown happened. So unfortunately, I haven't been able to actually get out there and actually meet any of them or do any of the events like I'd have wanted to. But we haven't let it stop us. So we've made sure we've gone out and about and what have you. And there's still been plenty of people who have gone to the National Apprenticeship Awards, people who represent, go down and speak in the House of Commons and TV stuff. There's all sorts of weird and wonderful things that we can get involved with, just trying to get kids involved in apprenticeships, really. So anyone have any questions? Because I was very unprepared for this afternoon. So Tim's hand's up, but I think that's still from James.
Sorry, you're right. It is. That's poor admin on my part.
That's fine.
I was going to ask though. Do you have a favourite experience of all of the time that you've spent is there anything that stands out for you?
What full stop generally with my apprenticeship?
Well, yeah. Is there anything that sticks out in your mind that you remember doing and thinking back, do you know what, that was amazing, I love doing it, I wish I could do more?
All of it. Start again in the workshop. No, there's been so many things. I mean, we went to Dove Nest, and that was an absolute laugh. It was a good bonding. We had an awful lot of people in our year, so we were actually split into two. But it was great trying to. I'm one of those people that I like telling people what to do. So there was a raft building exercise, and I didn't want to get in the cold water, so I managed to convince everyone else to get in instead. I helped from the land. I wasn't the one that jumped and climbed up and jumped off the pole at the top. But no, I think like Dove Nest was an absolute laugh. I did spend a little bit of time in the hangars, not as much as James did. I didn't have a NVQ to do with it, but I enjoyed doing that. One of the things I originally looked at when it came to Marshall was actually going out into the hangars, and I remember going up and climbing on top of one of the hangars and on top of one of the Hercules, and sitting on top, and it was just like, oh, I could get used to this. So there's been lots of little things just throughout the time, and especially with like Launchpad and what have you, going out to the schools and seeing the younger kids try and get involved and excited about things like this. It's just makes it all worth it.
Yeah, thank you. It seems to be quite a theme amongst you all, that you all particularly enjoy going out to the schools and helping young people understand and interact with engineering. So it's really good to hear.
You know, I was an air cadet like James as well. So I've been a plane geek since before I could walk, as far as I'm concerned. But air cadets as well has really helped. Getting involved with planes and going out with young kids and schools and what have you. So it's just sort of like get them all in. Planes, engineering, come here.
That's great. Thank you.
I think Paul has a question.
Afternoon, thank you, and thank you, James, as well. So I suppose my question is around the young ambassadors of apprenticeships. We do a lot, and I know it's the sort of priority is to get in the minds of the young people and say do apprenticeships. But I think there's also an opportunity to get into the minds of the people that are controlling the system, the organisations as it is today. And is there much that YAAN does, and is there more that we can get involved with as Marshall Centre? Obviously, we're going out and speaking to organisations about apprenticeships. It'd be great to bring some apprentices or ex-apprentices like yourselves into those conversations at certain points and just sort of show them the value from the mouths of apprentices themselves, not just us saying they're great, you should do them, but have some sort of living case studies, if you like. Speak to them and say, look, this is what I've experienced, this is what I've been able to do through my apprenticeship, since my apprenticeship, and the value I've brought to the company. I'm just wondering if YAAN or something like that we could work on collaboratively on something like that.
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely something. I think that's one of the good things about YAAN is because you're either during an apprenticeship or not long after. It's to help encourage people to, I say younger people, so the kids and everything are able to relate more. Because it's all well and good telling the teachers, but the teachers are they're just the teachers at school, aren't they? So I think it's definitely good getting apprentices and ex-apprentices and everything involved with various things. I'm trying to help encourage kids and the teachers and all the rest of it as well, because there's a weird thing around apprenticeships about how they're only it's just an apprenticeship, and yeah, it's not. It's everything. It goes all the way up. So I suppose I'd probably have to talk to my area chair to try and get in touch with the centre, but I'm sure there's something we can do, or some form of help and assistance one way or another. So I think that'd be good.
Yeah, that'd be great. I've attended a fair few events recently for organisations looking to get into apprenticeship, and without being rude to anyone that was there, and including myself, we're all a bit older. Not many of us have done apprenticeships, and we're in a room talking about it. It'd be great to have some input of, look, I've achieved all these things as an apprentice, and that would be a real good input. Appreciate
that's good. I'll make sure I'll talk to someone. There's a couple more hands up. I think Nicholas was up first, if that helps.
I was just going to ask, so look, working at Marshall and writing your a lot of 100-year stories, I've realised that there's generations of apprentices. How does it feel? Like, is it it must be really comforting having so many people who've gone through the apprenticeship route. Do you feel like they can relate to how you feel and vice versa when you're doing your apprenticeship?
Yeah, I must admit, I think it is good, and it's good to be able to interact with other years as well, and especially once in the workshop we're not isolated, but it's you're trying to figure out and get to grips with everything. But with the college at the minute, so in my college class there's actually 2 other years in my class, and that's been a fantastic opportunity to help mingle with everyone. So like Emily is in my class, and I probably wouldn't have spoken to her otherwise. James, I was on a course with James, and I knew James before either of us started working at Marshall. So it's surprising how much you get connected and how many of the other staff are apprentices, and they're like, oh, I remember when I was in the workshop, and it's just you share all these stories, and it's such a great community to be a part of, and it's good. Matthew?
Hi, sorry, I'm very late to the party because I came.
That's fine.
But I'm really interested. So there's a big agenda around females in engineering, and it's absolutely the right thing to do. How did you get into engineering, and what could we do, in your opinion, to help push that, and not just to tick a box? It's about balance in the workplace. It's about bringing those different points of view that come from different experiences.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I was very biased from the get-go. So when I was little, my father was actually in the RAF, so I grew up with planes. The RAF was originally the route I wanted to go down, but unfortunately, I had to have an operation on my spine, which meant the RAF was a no-go. And then air cadets. It's just been planes and knowing how they work and why they work, really,
Okay.
my entire life. But I think it is. There's a weird thing, I think, around especially girls and STEM and engineering. It's just the weird stereotype that goes along with it, and all the way through school, they were trying to get us all involved, but it's just honestly, I've got no idea really. I mean, at the end of the day, if people don't want to do it, they don't want to do it. But it's like, but it's engineering. How do you not know? How do you not want to know how and why all of these things work? So I think it's just trying to make sure you get people to question the how and the why and what goes on behind the scenes, that I think would really help. But getting them from a young age to things like Launchpad and what have you, when they're relatively young, getting them interested in everything, I think's probably the best bit. It was for me. I had my plastic Bob the Builder toolkit when I was a toddler, and I was taking everything apart without including my high chair, and I even managed to take the radiator off the wall. So that's what we need to do. We need to get them all little toolkits when they're little. There we go. That's my suggestion.
So plant the seed early, I think, is what I've taken from that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Hopefully Emily's got a thought as well with her hand up. Thanks, Kathryn.
Apologies for my background noise. My laptop's going to take off in a minute. But just to add to that, I think definitely from a young age, girls are giving, and this is me being seriously stereotypical, but usually boys are given Legos and tools, and girls are given colouring in books and things like that, which makes them choose things like literature and those more subjects like that. Whereas boys choose the things they grew up with, the tools, the Legos, and that's where they go into. So definitely from a young age, I think that's where it all stems from.
So, sorry, I just want to explore this a little bit more because it really interests me. So when you walk into our workshop, does it look like a masculine environment? Does it look like a female environment? Does it look like a neutral environment? Like, is it actually inviting? Because male and females do things slightly differently. They do see things through a slightly different lens sometimes. That's backgrounds as much as sex. So are we making it welcoming enough for a wide enough audience?
I for me, the first thing I thought walking into the workshop was, oh my God, like, what is this? This is amazing. Look at all the tools. I don't think it matters. I think it's extremely welcoming. I think it's just getting to that point. It's actually applying and going to that workshop to see it for yourself. That's where the interest starts. But the workshop itself was inviting because I just thought it was amazing looking. I had my own work desk. I had all these tools. It's like, for me, that was something I hadn't experienced before.
Yeah, I must admit, I agree with that. I suppose the only thing maybe is most of the things in the workshop are painted blue, but that's so ridiculously stereotypical that I don't really think that matters. But no, it was really good. The workshop. I suppose maybe the only thing was it seemed to be, I want to say more male. But that was probably because there's only the one locker room. I suppose that's the only other thing I could think of. But then there's the toilets just around the corner. You know, it's just go hide in there. Like it's not gonna be that big of a problem. But no, I walked in and I'm like, oh, look at all these tools, all these machines. Oh, look at those things. Oh, what's that? Oh, yes, I was in heaven. It was my nerdiness was thoroughly enjoyed. But I know there would be a lot of my friends from like school and what have you that would go in and be like, oh, it's dirty. And I'd be like, yeah, but it's good dirt.
Yeah.
Best kind of dirt.
Yeah. Machine oil has a special smell to it.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Cool. Thank you. And I give my daughter Lego and blue and pink dresses. I'll add.
Good. So anything from anyone else?
I think that's everyone, unless anyone else has any questions. Okay, so thank you so much. That was really good. Thank you, Kathryn.